I am so proud to call this place home. Now we're moving into the second leg of our triathlon. It's all about retaining talent. I'd like to introduce our second ed speaker, Craig Dickman. Craig is a true product of the New North. He was born in Oshkosh. He graduated from Green Bay Southwest, although fellow, I won't hold that against him too bad, being a Preble graduate, but a graduate of UW-GB and a master's from UW-Oshkosh. This experienced entrepreneur then started his company right here in Green Bay with Breakthrough Fuel. Please welcome to the stage, Craig Dickman.
Good morning. First, thank you for that introduction. Vicki and Ashley said I'm a product of Northeast Wisconsin and love this area, and I have great passion for everything that we see taking place in here in Northeast Wisconsin, so it's easy for me, as Sharon said, to tell a story. When I was asked to do this talk, the concept of attracting talent and this race for talent really led me to think about how we think about it at Breakthrough Fuel. For those of you that don't know, Breakthrough Fuel is a company located in downtown Green Bay. We're fairly fast growing. In the last 5 years, we've moved from 16 to 70 people. We've moved from doing business in North America to now doing business in 45 countries and showing that you can do business around the world from here in downtown Green Bay. But the way we think about it, and what I wanted to talk about today is this concept of creating talent gravity. It was interesting, Garrett used that word in the introduction, and I was really excited to hear him use it, because if you're starting to look for talent and compete when you've got an opening, it's way too late. What you've got to do is create the environment that enables you to attract the best talent. So if we start by talking about gravity, as everybody knows, it's a natural phenomenon, and as you have mass, it attracts things toward you. In our universe, if we use Earth as a reference point and say it's 100%, then you look around and you can see it's as little as 38% at Mercury, as much as 120% at the end of our solar system. And what we want to do as organizations is put that in the concept of talent gravity, which is creating the conditions that are going to attract talent to your organization. So as a reference point, if your organization is relatively traditional with human resources, you're a lot like Earth. You're probably doing pretty well, but it's fairly neutral. You may not be creating a great attraction, you're probably not repelling, you're doing the same as normal. If you're in a community with economic development activities, you're probably, again, just like Earth. And what I will argue is that's not good enough for the future. The world's changing, and we've got to find ways to create more gravity to compete on the edges. Now, it's funny, in this community, I hear from time to time people scared of the millennial generation. And if you're worried about the young workforce coming in, you're a little bit like Mercury. It's a scary place to live, and there's not a lot of life there. So I suggest that you find ways to really recognize the great potential that exists with today's workforce. But what I want to do today is talk about the 4 things that I think are necessary to create what we consider the experience model, or our way of creating talent gravity. If you walk into the office at Breakthrough Fuel, you'll be greeted by a large sign that has a quote on that has great meaning to me. It says, "Business creates. Medicine heals, education enlightens, science discovers, art inspires, but business creates." It creates products, it creates services, it creates jobs, it creates value for its customers and assets for society. Without the vital creative force of business, our world would be impoverished beyond reckoning. And there's 2 things that are really key for me in that. First, it sets a sense of purpose. Business gets knocked as being greedy or just after money. That's not what we do, we create. If you look at Breakthrough, it's creation and innovation that is at our heart and our core. But the second thing that it says is business plays a key role within a healthy society. We need art, we need education, we need science. We need all of those things to come together in a way that creates the kind of gravity that's necessary for us to get excited about bringing people into this area. For us, as I bring that to what that means for us, I think about a community engagement team that we have in the office that is really designed to connect people that move to this area with the community itself. As an example, our community engagement team just did a trip out to a new venture called the Farmery here in Green Bay, and got really excited about it. In fact, one of our people is now part of their capital campaign. But it's connecting to the community in new ways. And without offending anyone, I don't mean to do this, but if you think community engagement is running a United Way campaign, that's not enough. That's money. That's the same problem with the business. This is about really connecting in new ways. So that brings me to the first part of the experience model, which is creating purpose and connection. Both of those things are so key in beginning to create talent gravity. And if I can digress for a minute and talk about a community element as well, I saw Gary Miller from the University of Wisconsin Green Bay here earlier. And it's a great example where, in my opinion, the university and the community lost a bit of a connection. And he's in the process of transforming and remissioning the university. And we all have a vested interest in the university's success. And we should all be paying attention to what that means, because there was a day when we all realized that having a great educational system was key to a healthy community. And then somehow, I think, as a community, we've lost that. And we need to regain that and get excited about it again and recognize how important it is. Another thing that I'd like to talk about in my second point begins with thinking about culture. One of the things that was fun for me is a couple of years ago, one of our people ran around before an annual meeting where we tell everybody everything that's going on with us. And they asked the question, what does it mean to be at Breakthrough? And organically what developed was this concept that says we are Breakthrough. The senior leadership team didn't write it. It came through the organization. And we heard our organization describe keywords about our culture. If you ask anyone in our business, they'll use 3 words: smart, passionate, and edgy. And that's how they think of themselves. That's how we think of them. And that creates a great roadmap for both how we operate our culture, how we think about our business, and also helps really inspire us when we meet people to say, hey, this is the type of person that could be a great asset in this organization. So the second thing that we touch on is a genuine culture. It is so important to have a genuine culture and one that connects. And it's been said here a couple of times, it connects purpose, it creates meaning, it creates why you're here, it's why people invest their time and why they will invest their talents. So culture is so critical. And I also want to bring a community point in. When Mark Hogan was speaking, he mentioned that sometimes in the political world there's a bit of a gotcha culture. For the policymakers out there, let me just share with you that every time you engage in gotcha, what's happening is you're shrinking our mass a little bit and making it a little bit more difficult to attract people into this area. So it's really critical that we operate in the common good and find ways to increase our mass and pull into this community. Next, I want to talk about the work. So it's about purpose and connection, it's about culture, and then about the work. So these are our 6 values. Don't bother reading them. You couldn't if you tried. But the point that I wanted to make is twofold. One is we talk about everybody lifts and shares. What that means is everybody in our organization has a direct line to value creation. We don't believe in back offices. We don't believe in support people. We don't believe in any role that we can't see and people can't see in it a direct connection to the work. Because people are looking for work that's purposeful, that has meaning, that's impactful. And what that also means to us is an organization like ours, somebody can find themselves 6 months out of college at 24 or 25 years old, standing in front of a senior vice president or C-level person of a Fortune 100 company and advising them on better ways to run their business. Now, you have to have a lot of confidence to do that. You've got to be smart, passionate, and edgy. Our folks do it all the time. But what's important is it creates a real sense of purpose and impactfulness of the work. You know, for me, retention has always been really simple. If people inside your organization or community are growing personally, growing professionally, and growing economically faster than their peer group, they stay. If they're not, they move. People want to be challenged. They want to grow. They want to have opportunities. They want to know what they're doing every single day is impacting and making something better, whether it's for their customer, whether it's for our community. And so the work has to be impactful. And then you think about organization and leadership. We're kind of a unique story. If you look at our organization, we don't have organizational charts. I fundamentally don't believe in them. There's no job descriptions, there's no employee manuals, there's no policies. We don't have a human resource department. We will never have human resources. I'll come back to that. 77.8% of our company are millennials, so it's young, smart, passionate, and edgy. And 32.1% of the people in our organization were hired when we weren't looking for any people. We didn't have a job open. We couldn't have called Sharon and asked her for help, even though she does an amazing job at bringing talent, because we didn't know we were looking for it. But then we met somebody who we saw had incredible talents, who fit our culture, who we knew could make us better, and we asked them to come in and join our organization. And then once they got there, we figured out what was the best way to use the natural talents that Sharon talked about before. Now, the reason I mentioned human resources, and it's not their fault. I used to be director of human resources for an organization early in my career. We, as leaders, have screwed up that profession. Because what we did is we gave them all of these regulations and compliance and fear of lawsuits and forms to fill out. And we made them a compliance department. And it's almost impossible to be involved in compliance and creativity at the same time. So I would urge all of you to take any of those compliance activities that you may have and give them to people who are really good at compliance, like finance and legal, and let them worry about protecting you from the world. And give your HR people a chance to do what they should do, which is creatively find ways to create an environment to bring people and connect them to your organization. Because part of the problem is the world's changing faster than our organizations are. The new generation, like I said, is an amazing workforce if we don't get in the way as leaders and screw it up. So what we've got to do is reimagine organizations and reimagine the way we're leading. And that comes to my fourth point in the experience model, and that's disruptive leadership. You have to think different about organizations. It requires you to be more open, less hierarchical, more communicative, more creative, just as passionate. And so when I look at it in total, for us, the experience model and creating talent gravity comes down to purpose, connection, culture that has meaning and connects with folks, impactful work, disruptive leadership. Now for us at Breakthrough, we take that a little bit farther. We've got something in the department we call the Breakthrough Experience. And it's one team that's focused on providing a consistent experience for everyone who interacts with Breakthrough Fuel. If you're a go-to-market brand trying to get new business, that comes in the experience team. If you're connecting with the community for community engagement, that lies there if you're trying to find talent, because we want to have one consistent experience for anyone who's connecting with us, so everyone has the exact same view of what being part of our organization. And I would extend that to be part of our community, what that means. Now for us, there's a real strong culture and commercial connection. And I just found this funny, so I threw this in, not funny, but I threw this in because after Thanksgiving, I got a note from one of our brand new clients. And they'd come up and spend 2 days in Green Bay with us, which is fairly common for our clients. And after that, I got this note, and they made a comment which I thought was great. It said, after meeting the folks at Breakthrough, I see a perfect partner. And what was really important in here is they didn't talk about the millions that we could save them, although we will. They didn't talk about our technology being cool, even though we think it is. They talked about the values, the culture, the connection they felt to us as a way that is a reason why they wanted to do business and why they were excited about it. And so the work that you do on culture and the work that you do on purpose has a direct impact into the commercial side as well. So I would argue that to compete as businesses, as community, our role is to increase talent gravity. Now, events like this are a great start. There's an incredible amount of mass that comes from 650 people or so being energized and excited about a region. And I think we all are. And so this is a really good start. But just recognize there's real work to be done as we move from what we see as the normal way of operating into an environment where we create more talent gravity and really create an attraction. So the stories we tell confirm it isn't the first time they've heard it. And that we don't have to go look to fill a job. We've got people who want to be part of our experiences. But at the same time, it's a tough world. And so just remember that while we're trying to increase our mass and gravity, other communities and regions are as well. As organizations, as we're trying to grow, others are as well. And so what this means is that, we have to be fast, we have to approach this aggressively, we have to do it better than anyone else. And what I've learned from being part of the Northeast Wisconsin business community, from raising kids here, from growing up here, from going to high school here, is everything tells me that we have all the capabilities in the world to compete better than anyone else. And I tell that to our people in the organization. You think about Breakthrough Fuel, we've created a whole industry segment, and people will say, how can you do that in Green Bay? Well, it's easy because we've grown up with a community of people that support all of us just like everyone does in this room. We're excited, the best is ahead of us. Let's all get together and try to increase the collective gravity that we're making for our region. Thank you very much.